A curtain or drape in shades of blue and gray fills most of the frame. A thin vertical line or seam runs down the center. The top edge shows what appears to be stage lighting or equipment.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tent of Many Voices. My name is Erin. I'm one of the rangers traveling around with this exhibit. We've been traveling for 2 years and have 2 left to go. We have quite a ways, and we're enjoying every minute of it. Every time we stop at a new city, we introduce and invite other presenters to do presentations here in our Tent of Many Voices to share their voice and their perspective of the Lewis and Clark expedition or some of the native people they saw along the way, and also some of the effects of Lewis and Clark. And at this hour, we have Harry Beauchamp, who's here to tell you a little bit about the Assiniboine Regalia. So let's give him a warm welcome.
A person in a dark jacket and tan hat stands on a small stage near a wooden podium. Behind them is a banner reading USF and DEPA, and institutional signage is visible on the left wall.
In my first words, I should say, Dayan Wachim Naga, Wayukeza yu chancha, Chaje Mitawa. What I said was, it's good to see you. My Indian name is Shakes the Spear. My English name is Harry Beauchamp Jr. I'm a Assiniboine Indian from the Fort Peck Reservation. I live in a little community called Oswego. I am a traditional dancer. There's not much spiritual part of it other than enjoyment. If you've ever been to a powwow, you would see that we have fun. We like to tease, joke. We have what we call Indian humor. So when we gather, we all like to rib and tease one another about our moccasins or something.
A person wearing a beaded white vest and beaded necklace holds up a large red object with brushes or implements attached to it, demonstrating it toward the camera. A yellow decorative item is visible above.
It's out of place. This would be called rockers. And this is my backboard. Unlike other presenters, they would put their regalia all on, but I want to show you how we would do it, so you have a better, you'll have to come over here. This is my little son. His name is Harry the Third. He's also a traditional dancer. Okay, you hold that right there.
I can't hold that. Oh, I got it. This right one's going to fall.
Okay, just hang on to it.
A person wearing glasses and a beaded vest stands on a stage holding an object while interacting with a child. A monitor displays an image behind them. Text on the left references a department and bureau.
Our regalia, we call it, consists of what all I would wear, and it isn't cheap. This vest I'm wearing cost me $500, American money. So there's a price we have to pay for enjoyment. How many of you know what alcohol does to us? In 1987, I found myself beat up by this drug called alcohol. I was fortunate that I had
A person wearing red clothing and a feathered headdress holds a feathered object aloft on an indoor stage. Text on a backdrop lists various U.S. government departments and agencies.
family members back home praying for me. And I found myself in 87. I was 2 years without alcohol then, and I found myself ready to have a drink of raisins of my own doings, which is called humanness. And I called a nephew of mine and I told him, I says, you know, I said, I've had it with this world. I can't do this anymore, sober walk. He said, well, let's go fishing. And after we're done fishing, if you still want to drink, I'll join you. I said, all right. So we went fishing. And
A person wearing glasses, a red bandana, and a white jacket stands on a small stage holding a feathered object and what appears to be a wooden item. 2 other people sit at a table in front of the stage. Banners behind them reference U.S. Forest Service and Department of Education.
I was crawling down this little deer trail to get a little closer to this lake up in the Flathead Reservation is where we were living at the time. And I'm going to go through the top. Just pull that right there, if you can reach it. Can you see it coming out there? It's not? Okay, then let's go through the bottom then. So anyway, I was crawling down on this deer trail to get closer, and I started to find eagle parts of this eagle. We First Nations people, we don't look at things as coincidence. For whatever reason, how this little bald eagle passed away, it was meant for me. It was meant for me to find it, because then, and then only then did I get humble with it. In my drinking, took the backstage of it at that time, because, as I said before, it wasn't a coincidence. It was meant for me to find him. And I felt really sad, because we believe that a bald eagle mates for life. And for however reason this eagle gave his life for me, I chose not to drink. So when I put him on, and I get with all these other birds of prey on this dance floor, a lot of them are golden eagles. A lot of them are, they take prey. They won't eat something dead. The bald eagle will eat fish. He doesn't kill rodents, I heard. But what we always do is we always smudge up, because he becomes sacred when we use him. Every one of these feathers, all the way to here. So we use, our sage is called big leaf sage, and it grows in northeastern Montana, where we're from. This would be called a bustle. And I would wear this on my back.
A person stands on stage holding up a large bird specimen with black feathers and white underside. Another person in white clothing stands nearby. A podium and signage are visible in the background.
In this fashion, but I got some gear back here. Maybe I might be able to get it. And I would wear it like this. The cool thing about him, when I put this guy on and I walk out on that dance floor, and there may be 150, 200 other men dancers, This little bald eagle wants to fly.
A person in glasses stands on a stage holding a large feathered object, wearing a white vest with red and green embroidery over a red shirt. Behind them is a dark banner listing various government departments and agencies.
And me and him get to fly amongst all these other golden eagles. I haven't ran into too many men that wear a bald eagle. Back home, where we're from, we take life from a spiritual aspect. I'm not a holy man. I'm not a medicine man. I belong to a couple of societies back home, which helps us keep grounded. When we smudge, it gives us good thoughts. It gives us good things to dance for. I'm wearing a shirt, it's called...
A person in a light-colored hoodie stands at a red draped table holding a rolled object with yellow markings. Text on a dark background behind them lists various U.S. government departments and agencies.
Called a ribbon shirt. My ancestors, star people. They recognize me when I wear this. This was a fully beaded, old, over 110 years old, the Assiniboines wore these. So if you ever go to a powwow or a gathering and you see this on...
A person wearing glasses, a white shirt, red sash, and a beaded vest holds up a yellow braided object toward a child. Both are examining the item on a stage with text visible in the background.
On an individual, he would be Assiniboine. That's how we were recognized. And we had braids, of course. This is my boy I told you. And he would wear it like that. We had floral designs. You know, they don't give me enough time because everything here has a story.
A person wearing a cream-colored vest with red and yellow trim stands at a podium, pointing to displayed objects. Behind them is signage mentioning U.S. government departments. Another person sits to the left.
These would be called a side drops. This is all fully beaded, my belt. I've been only dancing, this is my 6th year. I don't do it for money, but this comes up around me and then it fits around my waist, and then my side, they hang down, they're called a side drop.
A person in a white and red garment stands on a small stage, pointing to or demonstrating something. Another person sits nearby. A banner behind them lists various U.S. government departments and agencies.
These would be tied right above my calves. And they match. Fully beaded arm, I would wear these like this. When I first started dancing, I had this item right here. I had my breastplate. I had a different pair of moccasins. I didn't have any of this beadwork.
A person wearing a white long-sleeved shirt, red scarf, and beaded pouch gestures with one arm raised while speaking. Behind them is a dark vehicle with partial text visible mentioning Department of Agriculture and Forest Service. And
I danced like a board. If you ever go to a powwow, you see a guy dance like a board. That was me. This covers up my sacred parts. And then I have one tied in the back. I call them a loincloth. It covers up my private parts.
A person stands at a podium wearing a white long-sleeved shirt, a red and white beaded vest, and a red beaded necklace. They hold an object with fringe while speaking to an audience in an indoor venue with visible signage on the wall behind them.
But I also have another thing that covers me up now. I invested in on how to make leggings. So I followed the white man's chaps. So all I do is I just pull them on if it's cold, and it keeps my little chicken legs warm. That's our pants. These
A person wearing a cream-colored jacket with red and tan geometric designs holds up a garment with red cuffs. Behind them, a dark panel displays text mentioning Department, U.S. Army, Energy, and Land Management.
These are my cuffs, which I would wear, which they match also. I would wear like that. So that's part of our regalia. Had I known it was going to cost me this much money, I would have probably never got into it. I would have probably took that little eagle and sent him to a medicine man and had him do something with it.
A person in a white shirt and beaded vest stands on a stage in front of a dark backdrop with partial text visible. They are gesturing while speaking, wearing a red and green beaded necklace.
And these are our bells. This would go on first, and then your bell set on top of that, of course, so it don't rub on you.
A person wearing a white jacket with red beaded details and a red beaded necklace stands at a microphone on a stage. Behind them is a blank whiteboard and a partial view of signage mentioning natural resources and government departments.
If you're going to be over in Great Falls at the end of this month, I'm going to be over there with, I have my society painted lodges. I'm going to be over there for 4 days. And then there's a powwow there, I'm told. And when I get done there, I'm going to go over and powwow. So if you want, come over and watch me dance. Take my picture.
A person stands on a stage wearing a white shirt and red beaded vest with gold ornaments around the neck. Behind them is a dark wall with partial text visible referencing various U.S. government departments.
And this is what we call a dance shirt. This would go under my breastplate, my tie, my collar. I'm fortunate I have 3 mothers. 2 from a place called Carry the Kettle, Canada, and 1 from a town called Glasgow, Montana.
A person in a white vest with red and gold trim stands near a bus or large vehicle. Text on the vehicle lists various U.S. government departments and agencies. Another person is partially visible on the left.
The lady from Canada, she told me, she said, "Harry, is your mother alive?" And I said, "No, my mother passed away to the spirit world." We say Makbia, spirit world. She said, "An Assiniboine man should never be without a mother. I'm going to adopt you as my son. I like how you carry yourself." She adopted me at the big ceremony. So whenever they come back down to our gatherings from Carry the Kettle, she always brings me a ribbon shirt. I have many of them. My other two moms always make me things too. This would be my tobacco pouch. We call it a dance bag. I like to put my little tobacco in there, in my smudge, and then I'd carry this with me. There's a story behind.
A person wearing glasses and a white cardigan with beaded trim over a red shirt stands indoors, holding an object in their hands. Behind them is a dark podium with partial text visible reading meant of Turai, Rest Service, and ENT of Education.
Behind this Indian man's name was Afraid of His Flying. He was our medicine man of the First Nations people from Fort Peck. He knew everything about plants. He knew the proper way of using them so we could be healed. I had told him that I was going to start dancing powwow. He said, you have something to fan yourself. He said, it's hot. Out there in northeastern Montana it gets 110, 120, and when we have all of this on, it's really, really powerfully hot. I told him on what day I was going to come to the dance floor. He showed up at my camp and he gave me this. He's now went to the spirit world, this man, so this is very, very sacred to me. It works really well.
A person wearing a white shirt, red vest with beaded patterns, and beaded necklaces stands at a table. Two other people sit nearby. Partial text visible in background mentions Department of Agriculture, Forest Service, Department of Education, and Indian Affairs.
This is called a spreader, and it is also fully beaded. Yeah. On here is a thunderbird. If any of you are going to be in Great Falls, I have an 18-foot teepee, fully painted our style, not just something thrown on it. This bird right here is on the back of the full length of the lodge. He comes to us in June out there. And we say, Wagia Itancha, Thunderbird. He scares our little ones. He scares our animals, our little colts, our little calves. Let me see it. This is called a wapesha.
A person wearing glasses, a cream-colored vest with beaded trim, and a red and white striped sash stands holding an object. Behind them, text on a wall references various U.S. government departments.
It's made out of porcupine hair and deer hair. And I'll show you how this goes. There's a story behind this also. I like to look at myself as a very fortunate individual because all of these things came to me in a good way.
A person wearing white and red regalia with beaded trim leans forward, hands working with plant material on a dark surface. Wood pieces and dried plants are visible in front of them. Text appears on a dark background to the right.
Our elders tell us when we leave home, I and this little man right here, in my family, that whatever we do out there, we do it from here because we don't want to bring shame back home to the Assiniboine people. So whenever we smudge, we have these in our possessions, we have to speak the truth. Because my elders, I have 5 mentors, which are men are all in their 80s. They've walked a very humble path. And whenever I do something, I tell them I'm going somewhere.
Two people in red and white regalia with beaded details lean toward each other on a stage. One person holds what appears to be a wooden staff or ceremonial object. Gold text is visible on a dark background behind them.
They say, "You have a good trip," in our language, and then they say, "Make us proud." Because we will know if you're spoofing everybody. How many of you know what spoofing is? Talking when I should be listening and listening when I should be talking. And this is how this goes on. This thing here is called a scalp lock. You just get it started, I can put it on through there.
Okay, it's right there in the middle. But you can move it down more.
Okay.
If you want. I'll tell you where it is. Move your fingers.
Two people stand close together against a plain background. One person on the left wears a white vest with a feathered headdress and red clothing. The person on the right, wearing a light-colored jacket, gestures toward the other person's hand.
Right there, right in the middle.
Okay. Where's my rope? And then I would tie it like this. So when I would dance, when I dance powwow, these black and whites, they should be rocking to the drum, huh? I was told not to leave out the other winged birds. These are magpie tail feathers. I and this little man right here is my other older daughter. She's 5. I and her were out on our way to dig turnips. How many of you ever dug wild turnips? We were out digging wild turnips. And the Creator, again, left me these tail feathers. If you see, there's some beautiful little bird feathers there, and beautiful purples in there. I was told never to leave out our other little winged animals. This was made by a man that walked the same path I do. He had a rough time with alcoholism. He made this for me. It's very dear to me. I was going to have this guy bring his regalia and then be in costume, because he has basically the same as me. And that's how that works. This is called a dance stick. In our dance, we have stories. Each song is a story. So if you understand the language in these songs, you would know what their drummers are singing to. I'm not a warrior. I never went off to war. But I am a hunter. In northeastern Montana, we have huge mule deer out there. And I also have many hats. So one day, I bought myself some hunting license because on the reservation we don't have to pay to hunt. But there was some bigger bucks off the reservation, and in order for me to go get them, I had to buy a hunting license. So I bought a hunting license, and I teamed up with a couple of buddies. And I said, I need me a song to go with my sneak up. And a sneak up dance is warriors. It's where they're tracking their enemy in dance. Then every once in a while they get down, and they pop up and they look around in regalia. And then they track them some more. Then they look around. I said, I got to get me a story. So we went up north of Glasgow, Montana. And I had come across a big print of a huge buck. I trailed him for a better part of the day. And over there, there's no trees up there. It's just sagebrush and a lot of washouts. And he was laying in this washout. So I use that in my sneak up now. Before I would follow another dancer and use him as my enemy. And I thought, no, this guy's way too quick. So I use this buck story. So there's stories that go with our dance. I've gotten pretty good at it. I haven't made any money at it yet. I take that back. I won a special one time. But then there was only 3 of us, so. This little guy right here can really dance good. He's placed in many powwows. And I always tell him, what's it feel like to stand up there with all the winners, all these champions? Someday, Dad, you'll be there. But the thing about it is, it comes from here. And it's God-given to us. God gives us intelligence. When I smudge, I do this. I smudge my hands because they are the foulest things that a human can have. I smudge my heart. And I smudge my intelligence. And I smudge my mouth. Now all of them are connected. So it comes from here. My intelligence tells me it's the safe thing to say, my mouth. Because one of the hardest things that comes from our mouths can very, very, very hurt us for a long time. More so than fist fighting. That was another one of my stories. I used to like to fist fight. But that came from alcoholism. I've been sober. I'll be 18 years sober June 20th. I hadn't had a fist fight. I haven't had my hands put behind my back in cuffs. Over 200 years ago, when these individuals came up through here, not so long after that, they brought a thing called fire water. And it destroyed a bunch of us. I broke a cycle in my life. My little boy hasn't seen me touch a drop. My little boy hasn't seen me come home late. He hasn't heard me lie. But all of this right here is good for us because it gives me enjoyment to dance. It makes me feel good when I can get out there with all them great big raptures that the golden eagles, the spotted eagle, the black eagles, and all these men are real arrogant. Oh, arrogant. Me and my little ball, we come right out there. It makes me feel good to do that. And I make them dance because they competition, for big money. There's a powwow, they have 34,000 competition in Great Falls. I have a very good friend of mine that lives in Chinook, Montana. I came on my way up, I stopped visiting him. He called me a couple of days before that. He told me, oh, my brother, he says, I'm Ilshiga, which means pitiful. He says, my moccasins, they have holes in them. Not coincidence. That morning I went with an older brother. He bought a recliner, so he didn't have a pickup, so we used my truck. We went to Wolf Point, and at this place we were picking up this recliner, a lady came up and she said, Harry, are you looking for a pair of moccasins? I said, I was thinking about getting me a second pair. She says, well, come over here, look. She had a beautiful pair of moccasins, not these, but a beautiful pair of moccasins. Fully beaded like this. All of this was beaded. You know, you figure $200. That's as I was going. She said, $70. I said, $70? Yeah. I said, follow me to the bank. She followed me over there. I got her 80. So anyway, this brother of mine, he took me as a brother. He's a Gros Ventre from there. He says, he says, boy, I'm really pitiful. My moccasins got holes in them. I told this little guy, see, these moccasins are going to go to my adopted brother, Bill. So on our way up here yesterday, I stopped. I told him, I said, I have a gift for you, but I want to see the holes in your moccasins that you were saying you had. And he had them laying out. He picked them up off of his living room floor and he stuck his finger through. See, I told you I was Ushiga. So we gave him them pair of moccasins. They say whenever we give, we get back. So evidently what this Bill, my friend, does came back to it. Back home, there's so many non-Indians, they look at us as just drunks. There's some of us that are very real. There's some of us that still walk that path without alcohol in our homes. We have prosperity in our lives because we're educated now. I work for an archaeology digging firm out of Billings, Montana called Ethnoscience. I make good money at it. I get to do things that I've always enjoyed, and that's working with Ana Makoche, we say Mother Earth. I go to sacred sites, burials. If there's a burial, I'm asked to do a ceremony before we dig in it because I know what's going on. I'm in tune to the spirit world. But it comes from one thing. Waldy saved my life. Saved my life. Had I not found him, I'm sure I would have went and got drunk that day. But everything's a gift from that. So when I put him on, no disrespect to these folks that are running this, I was supposed to put all of this on, but it's easier for me to explain it to you. My grandmother's name was Ogima, which means sun. She was very fond of the floral design. So most of my beadwork is all floral. Except these. I ran across these 3 years ago. A little Sioux lady came to this office where I was at. Gave me a little sob story, which was the truth. I don't have to tell you that. She said, but I have a pair of moccasins. I said, all right, let me go look at them. I looked at them. She says, how much? I asked her. She said, $70 again. I said, $70 for these? I said, this is commercially tanned. It must have took you forever to put the beads through, because if you've ever sewed on commercially tanned, it's a nightmare. So I gave her a little extra and I took them. So everything we have has a significant story behind it. So when I put these on, I look to the west where our Sioux ancestors are from, and I tell her, hey, I'm going to wear your moccasins. Give me the strength. Oh, the vest was made by a gentleman named, he's from Piapot, Canada. He's a Cree Indian. They're 200 years ago, Assiniboines didn't have very many friends. We didn't like the Blackfeet, we didn't like the Gros Ventres, we didn't like the Hidatsa, we didn't like the Rickra, we didn't like anybody. We had one ally, and that was our Cree. The Cree nation was our ally because our language was very close. We understood one another. This gentleman said, hey, I told him I need a vest. He says, you buy everything. It's all right. But it wasn't him that was going to do the work, it was his wife. And he didn't tell me that. So every time I'd go over there, she was sitting there beating on this. I said, hey. This brother of mine is supposed to be here. Cree Indians are like us, but they're proud. They said, no, that's women's work. I sold bull. She did this side, he did this side. You can see the difference in it, how tight it is compared to his side. I told him, I said, well, maybe on second thought, maybe we could go back the old way. But I'll tell you a little story. How the monkey came to the Assiniboines. One day the circus was in town in Wolf Point, Montana, when it was first getting built. And this little monkey escaped. And he was down along the river. There was me and another individual. We seen this little monkey. He said, what is that? He said, let's catch it. We'll take it to the Hoongaw. The Hoongaw means chief. We'll take it to our Hoongaw. He'll know. So we caught this little monkey and we took him to our chief. The chief picked him up and says, huh. Oh, he's touching his little head and his tail. He says, I don't know. He said in Assiniboine, Dogwinish. He said, take it to the medicine man. He'll know. So we took this little monkey to the medicine man. Medicine man held him up to the 4 directions. This little monkey, because medicine men, they always pray to the 4 directions, petted this little monkey on the head, played with his tail. He said, huh, got a face like a boy, got a tail like a cow. I know, cowboy. Back home, I have a lot of friends that are cowboys. We do a lot of horse racing, wild horse racing, and that's where we run these wild horses on saddle and into chutes. There's 3 of us. We have a mugger, we have a rider, and we have one guy that saddles him. We open the chutes. We have to rope this horse. Then we got to put a saddle on him. Then we have to throw this little rider on him, and then he's got to ride across the arena. Talk about wrecks. Cowboy Indians flying everywhere. Usually our mugger is about 6'5" and about 400-pound man, so he just squats and hangs onto the rope. And then little skinny guys like me do the rest. But we have fun in doing all these things, you know. If I've offended anybody in my talk, I make my amends. I'm honored to come here and be here. Over 200 years ago, this gentleman, Lewis Clark, was coming through Assiniboine country. We were camped at a place called Rocky Point, because if you're down there, we only stayed in the river bottoms because of the wood and the safety of the wind. At that time of the year, we were up at Rocky Point, which had been 12 miles north of where they supposedly seen us. There was 4 of our scouts down there. We reported back to our tribe. We said, these big boats are coming up. We don't understand the language of these people. We got within earshot. Our war chief was there. Our chief at that time, his name was Rosebud. He asked this chief, he says, well, what do you think? And our chief asked these 4 scouts, he says, who's all in this party? So each of us scouts told him. Said there's a woman and a baby with him. Our war chief, he says, do you go to war with a woman and a baby? No. Let him go through. Keep an eye on him for 4 days. Then report back to us. So we never did encounter these gentlemen. The Assiniboines were very protective of that area at the time. I could tell you some stories that were passed down to us. It's not written in books. You don't find too many books on our religion or our spiritual walk or our life, because we don't sell our stuff. We don't sell it because we keep it in here and we pass it to our little ones. They don't read it in the book. They have to participate in these things, our gatherings, our ceremonies, when these things are shared with us. You know, to have a woman and a baby with these 2 individuals, the Assiniboines took great respect for that. To come across our country, but they had a woman and a baby. We show great respect for them. We says, you guys go on in our own way. And time is up, I guess. So I want to thank you all for coming and letting me speak to you all. Hopefully I'll see some of you in Great Falls. Pinamaya.
Thank you both for coming. And thank all of you for coming as well. I do want to invite you to come back for the next program. One of our own rangers is going to be doing a